we have Why Him, which was one of the sort of, there a ton of movies came out last week, and this is one of the Christmas movies that came out and probably got lost in the mix because I swear there were like 10 movies that came out over that break. It stars Bay Area legend James Franco.
Yes.
So I actually saw this a while back, and it's funny because I saw it back to back with Office Christmas Party, and it actually made me want to adjust the rating for that because I enjoyed this movie more, but realized that they're both not that great. So it has James Franco, and he plays this kind of gross, goobery, but super rich tech bro, and he is dating Bryan Cranston's character's daughter. So it's clearly going to be about the tensions, old school, new school. So Cranston's whole family goes to visit them and visit the daughter, where Franco springs that he wants to propose to the daughter. And of note that she's like, 10 years younger, and I think the actual actor's age discrepancy is like 15 years. So it just kind of adds to like the grossness of watching this on screen.
Ooh. Yep.
I would say Bryan Cranston is the salvation of this movie, and kudos to him for taking it seriously. You know, definitely not as scary as him in Breaking Bad, but it's sort of a more serious version of his character on like Malcolm in the Middle, maybe? I don't know. There are tons of comedians in this movie. Megan Mullally is hilarious. Keegan-Michael Key, Cedric the Entertainer, and they definitely are all trying to pull their weight. So you kind of have to give them credit for like trying, right? It's not an A, but it's something for effort. At the end of the day, I just find James Franco kind of just gross as a romantic lead. Like he's just, you know,
I felt that way in Eat, Pray,
Get a
Love
good cleaning.
too.
I have to do it myself sometimes, so I understand. Tell him,
Yeah,
come on, man.
But it's also like, and it fits the character, right? It fits this kind of like gross, like Arrested Development, you know, lives in a crazy mansion, like tech house. So I think actually people in the Bay Area will probably, like, if you're at all familiar or know anyone in the tech industry, you'll be like, okay, I get this a little bit more than maybe like a wider audience would. Yeah. I do have to say there's one scene that takes place at a party that his character throws that if you've ever been to a tech party, like it will crack you up because you'll just be like, yep, this is every little like small talk conversation I've ever had. That person's trying to show off. That everyone's like, where do you work? What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. And they're like talking about coding and things like that. And your eyes just sort of glaze over. But it's funny in a I don't actually have to live through this right now moment.
I live that life every single day when my fiance gets home.
Exactly.
Right.
And you can throw a ball like 2 feet and you're going to definitely find somebody who
Exactly.
Sometimes my eyes glaze over before he even gets home.
Right. You just like, you can't sneeze in this town without like talking to somebody who's in tech. So It's like, all right, like that will be funny for people in the Bay Area. I gotta say, like, I did laugh through the film, so it wasn't like all bad. It's just kind of gross, whatever humor. And I gotta say, compared to some of the other stinkers that came out over Christmas, it wasn't that bad in comparison, like in terms of the comedy.
It does look funny.
Right. And I think it also has to do with like lower expectations, right? Like Passengers, we all had really high expectations, and when it disappoints, it really disappoints. This, you're going into it knowing like, it's going to be what it's going to be. It's not trying to be anything more than it is. Mm-hmm. There is a great rock and roll cameo in it. I'm not going to say who or what, but like that part of it was actually one of my favorite, like weird, like why is this a storyline in this?
Matt's not going to be able.
I was just going to say, spoiler alert stuff.
I was just going to say, Matt's not going to be able to sleep tonight if you don't tell him.
But overall, if you have already seen all the other movies out there this season and need something between now and New Year's, like this isn't bad. So I'll give it 3, but knowing that it's based on a lower like scale of ratings.
Well, that's cool, though. Did you like Palo Alto, the one that he produced?
It was okay. You know, I think I respect James Franco in that, like, he's been to so many schools. He's enrolled in, like, what, UCLA, NYU, Columbia.
He also has an acting school in Brooklyn, New York.
That's terrifying. But I give him credit for, like, trying to study his craft. But I think he's still learning. And I love him in, like, Pineapple Express. It's just, like, the funny, anything he does with Seth Rogen is amazing. So, you know, this was sort of him on his own, but it was still funny. I give it credit. It was still funny in a crude, gross way.
Mm-hmm. Dana, what else do you have for us?
We are going to end 2016 with Silence, which is the new Martin Scorsese film, and it's going to be opening wider in the new year, but you might have the opportunity to see it now. I might be the minority when it comes to rating this film. I have nothing but respect for Martin Scorsese. He is a titan amongst filmmakers. He's so influential. I love much of his work, but I don't think just because he is such a great filmmaker, it means you automatically have to love everything he does, and I didn't love this. First off, it's 2 hours and 41 minutes. And it is bloated. And that was disappointing for me because Thelma Schumacher, who's been his editing partner on some of his greatest films, edited it. And I was like, come on, what's going on here? So it takes place in Japan in the 17th century, and it follows 2 Portuguese Catholic priests played by Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver. And they go to Japan to find their mentor who's gone missing. And their mentor is played by Liam Neeson. So no DiCaprio, De Niro. And I got to say, like, I give the Andrew and Adam credit. They're great actors. Mm-hmm. clearly like a harrowing role. You know, they are not going to Japan on vacation. And what I didn't realize, and I'm assuming this is true, is that like there was a whole sort of persecution movement of Catholics and Christians in Japan because it's such a foreign religion. It's clearly like an invading culture type thing, and the people of Japan like at the time just sort of rebelled against it and were like, what is this? So the governmental system tried to put it down. So Scorsese has talked about this himself, and I get that it's a very personal film for him, and he's talked about it in length and his relationship with religion and Catholicism, and he's clearly exploring his own personal relationship, but I really think that actually blinded him to making it a more watchable film for those of us who don't have that same relationship, which nobody can have that same relationship because it's just his relationship with it. So it's a tough film to watch for a couple reasons. You know, again, it's long. There are some scenes that are pretty painful to watch in terms of like torture, basically. I don't even have a problem with that. It felt too self-important, and I really think it was just because he felt it was so important and that blinded him. I also have to flag one thing. If you're going to shoot a movie that is all about Japan and being in Japan, and it's such an integral part, and you're talking about the culture of it, shoot it in Japan.
With Asian actors, too.
So the cast, there's a lot of Japanese people in the cast, but my biggest problem is, so they did a Q&A at the Castro Theater, actually, and they were going on and on about how they shot it in Taiwan and how great that was. And Brian's making a face, and I made that exact same face sitting in like the second row, just being like, what are you talking
mind blown.
about?
Wait, were you there with Scorsese? Because he was here. Okay.
Yeah. It was very exciting. I was very lucky I got to sit in the audience for that. But it was like hearing him talk about it, I'm just sitting there being like, why? Be authentic. If you're going to try and tell an authentic story, tell it in an authentic way. Don't go through all this effort of like, we got like, traditional kimonos and we recreated all this stuff, and then don't shoot it in the place where you should be shooting.
Yeah, unless it's like North Korea and we can't get in.
Right.
There's
like,
really
sure,
no
but
reason.
Like Japan it's an ally, It's like why? So it just felt really culturally insensitive, honestly.
Well, it's funny. I always remember these great stories about Michael C. Hall telling me how he would walk in and out of buildings, doing Dexter in Miami, but then they'd shoot the whole show in Long Beach.
Right, but like a show like Dexter is not all about. I mean, yes, sure, like the setting is a part of it, but like it's not about being like in like feudal Japan and all this stuff. It was just really frustrating for me, at least, and part of that was like contextualized afterwards. Like you don't know that while you're watching the film, but then like, dude, Marty, don't talk about it after, like don't just bury it deep. So anyway, this film is not going to be for everyone. I can definitely objectively appreciate the filmmaking involved, but it just didn't resonate with me personally, and I don't think it's going to resonate with a ton of people. It will resonate with some, but not others. A friend of mine was in the audience, and he was raised Catholic, and so he definitely had a stronger connection on that part of it. And like for me, it's okay. Well, watching another Asian culture and like a foreign invading force, basically, and in terms of like a religion like that, that's something that is. Resonates more with me, but again, it could have used another pass. So I'm only going to give it 3.5. And again, I think I'm probably going to be a minority on that, but that's just my rating for it.
Well, you know what? You're honest, and that's good. It gives people a perspective. And I want to wish you a happy new year early here right now. We're certainly happy to have you here. And we'll be hanging out with you in 2017 as well.
Looking forward to it.
That's Dana and the Mohawk Movie Review, and she'll be back in the new year.